The New Orleans Saints had an embarrassing loss against the Carolina Panthers, but the biggest story in this game is former Saints wide receiver Michael Thomas beefing with Derek Carr, even posting videos of himself talking to random dudes on the street about the quarterback. We're going to break down all the drama from this game and what to expect in the future for the New Orleans Saints. We'll also get into Derek Carr's response to Michael Thomas, but it all started with this devastating play that happened early on in the game where Chris Olave, the star wide receiver of the New Orleans Saints, suffered a concussion. You can see this happened here in the first quarter. Derek Carr made a pass on this post route, and you have the safety just completely light up a defenseless Chris Olave. I thought this was wrong. I thought that this guy should have been ejected. It was a high pass that you could see go off the fingertips of Chris Olave right there. And then there you have it. Boom. You can see that Xavier Woods takes a few steps. The guy takes multiple steps. Let's just count right here. You can see defenseless, boom, hits the hands, and you got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then boom, goes straight to the helmet. I was absolutely shocked to see this happen and shocked to see that Woods was not ejected from the game. Xavier Woods, this safety, actually has had this happen before in his career. You had this interesting stat coming up that this was the 9th unnecessary roughness penalty on the Panthers safety Xavier Woods since entering the NFL in 2017, the most in the league during that span. That is absolutely huge. But Chris Olave, man, thank God that he is okay and he was in the locker room after the game talking to some of his teammates, but he had to be carted off and taken to the hospital. And this is actually, the second concussion I believe he's had this year. He had it early on in the season, actually a few weeks ago, while Spencer Rattler was in at quarterback, and then he had it happen last year. We're going to get into what Michael Thomas said afterwards. We know Michael Thomas has been critical of Derek Carr over the past 2 seasons, but I want to point this out, which is that Xavier Woods was not ejected, but in the game afterwards at 4 o'clock Eastern time between the Packers and the Lions, you had Brian Branch, the safety of the Lions, ejected for a similar play. You see the receiver being defenseless here and then a helmet to helmet by Brian Branch. This led to an ejection. So kind of a double standard here. This guy is getting ejected for that kind of play, and meanwhile Woods is not being ejected for this play. And I think Woods was arguably worse because you have Brian Branch with less steps than Woods in my opinion. So that was very crazy. And then you had Michael Thomas responding in real time. Michael Thomas has had a lot of issues with the coaching staff and Derek Carr. Derek Carr has had to respond to some of the claims by Michael Thomas that Carr threw Michael Thomas hospital balls in 2023, and that is why he got injured, and that is why he's no longer on a team. But really, this doesn't add up. So we're going to get into Carr's response, a couple things that happened here, a couple claims that he made. But let me just first establish this, and this guy, Jeff Mans, pointed this out, that Michael Thomas was injured for a long time before Derek Carr was ever the quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. I mean, the guy had not completed a full season since 2019, and it started with an ankle injury, had nothing to do with concussions. And we know Michael Thomas has beef with several quarterbacks. He's made comments about Drew Brees and the national anthem, had beef with some of the other quarterbacks that filled in during that time. And let's not all forget, we can't just forget that as soon as Derek Carr was signed by the New Orleans Saints before the 2023 season, Michael Thomas was saying, "Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus." Just so happy that Derek Carr was the quarterback. It's kind of a little bit of shade on Jameis Winston because Jameis Winston was still on the roster, a holdover from 2022. But Michael Thomas was all stoked about it until things didn't work out and he wanted somebody to blame. So let me also establish before we go into the Michael Thomas tweets that I don't think this guy is mentally okay right now. He literally posted this video on X of Michael Thomas in his car driving up to random people talking about quarterback Derek Carr. This is absolutely insane. I'm curious, is this guy okay? Is he on anything? This is just some odd stuff.
Tell me about Derek Carr, man.
I don't like that shit.
You don't like him?
I don't like him, man.
What's wrong with him?
He doesn't know how to play. He just always keep the ball like this.
Man.
Who is this random dude? Always keep the ball like this.
Man, that's crazy. You know that.
Yeah.
You smart. You get my respect. I gotta show my dad this.
You better trade the quarterback, man.
Yeah, trade him.
Yeah.
Honestly, this is sort of sad and kind of shows me that Michael Thomas is kind of a lonely guy. He has nobody else to talk about this stuff with in person, so he's going up to strangers to talk about Derek Carr. Dude seems very obsessed with the guy, and he made a series of tweets throughout the game after the Chris Olave concussion. One comment that he made was very odd, and actually I think this really discredits Michael Thomas, where he says they fired all them coaches trying to cover his flaws up. He's still doing the same shit, saying that Derek Carr is a coach killer and fired tons of people to cover up his flaws. But when you look at Derek Carr's career, and if you followed him under the Raiders like I have, guy's only had 2 coaches fired under his career. John Gruden was forced to resign due to leaked emails, so Carr did not get Gruden fired. Jack Del Rio and Dennis Allen were the only coaches fired while Carr was quarterback. So is Michael Thomas defending Dennis Allen here, or maybe Jack Del Rio of all people, by saying that they fired these coaches to cover up his flaws? This is absolutely insane. But he said some other stuff in here where he actually threw a little bit of shade on the 2022 season between Carr and Davante Adams, saying that year his buddy went first team All-Pro, meaning Davante Adams, his buddy. He needed 180 targets just to catch 100 passes. He is ass on my granny. He also said, dude's scary and panics just to throw the ball. Get him the F out of here. He is so ass. Derek Carr for you. I've been told you y'all shit sad with a middle finger. So Michael Thomas letting his frustration out as he is currently unemployed in the NFL after being released by the New Orleans Saints prior to the start of the season. That's what this is really all about. This guy needs somebody to blame because his career has not worked out for him, and he's choosing Derek Carr. And I actually liked what Derek Carr did in the response here. He's very classy here, but he did make one comment that I think was pretty fire, where I believe he roasted Mr. Michael Thomas here.
Derek, Michael Thomas was on social media today. Again, kind of insinuating that your pass was the reason allowed to get hurt. And I know this is the second time you've done this and you've addressed it. But when you see that or hear that from a former teammate, kind of what is your reaction?
You know, I have love for Mike, and when he does that, I don't really care for it, obviously. I've had so many teammates over the years, and he's like the one dude that didn't get along with me, and I don't know what I did to him. I don't know why he feels that way. I'm sorry, for whatever he's dealing with to make him feel like he's got to do that. I don't know,
That right there was an interesting point. We've never seen any other wide receiver do this and have this feud with Derek Carr other than Michael Thomas and maybe Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown never really played with Carr. Obviously, he dropped out of the Raiders before the start of the 2019 season. And even since then, AB has said favorable and nice things about Derek Carr as of late. So Michael Thomas is alone in this category.
But he's never called me during any of this. My phone number has never changed. I've in fact called him on different occasions. Just to try. And sometimes you can try as hard as you want, and it just doesn't work out, and that's okay. So I don't know why he feels any type of way. I didn't see it. I won't see it because I always ignore everything. Good and bad. I try to ignore everything. It's unfortunate, especially coming from a player like that. But I wish him the best. I hope he gets on a team and does what he wants to do and loves it. I'll never change. I love him in that way, wish him the best, but as it's something I just would never do to a teammate.
And I love that comment right there, that he wishes the best for Michael Thomas. He hopes he gets on a team and gets whatever he wants. He has to hope that Michael Thomas gets on a team because he is currently unemployed in the NFL right now. And I almost wonder if Michael Thomas has been acting out on social media in order to sort of build an excuse as to why he's not on a team because he's vocal on social media, when really it's a talent and health issue at this stage in his career. Derek Carr goes in depth, though, on what happened on the play with Chris Olave.
Because it was single high. The ball went to where we talked about it going, and Chris got hit in the head. Unfortunately, that happens in our game, and I would never do it on purpose. I didn't throw him into a bad, look. It wasn't a different coverage where that guy was just, all that kind of stuff. So when it comes to the football aspect of it, I really don't have an answer for it. But when it comes to just the person part of it, I just hope he gets what he's looking for.
And like we talked about before, this type of thing happens in this game. And really, the player, the safety, made a dirty play. You see, there's the single high coverage. Carr did not do anything out of the ordinary here. And like we showed you earlier, this happens for other teams around the NFL. Chris Olave is not the only person to unfortunately deal with these injuries around the NFL. And it sucks. But that did not stop Chris Olave's brother agreeing with Michael Thomas here. Josh Olave, and I hate to bring this up, but this happened and we got to talk about the reality of what's going on with the New Orleans Saints. Michael Thomas made a comment, and this is going back to Carr's interview in the offseason after the Saints released Michael Thomas, and Michael Thomas kept on making more criticisms about Dennis Allen, the head coach, and Derek Carr on social media. Carr was asked about this in an interview and basically talked about the fact that Michael Thomas wasn't too happy that he wasn't that involved in the offense while he was playing with Derek Carr. So Michael Thomas says, dude tried to lie and say I was jealous of them making Chris Olave number one wide receiver. Whole time he can't even get him a decent ball. He needs his ass whooped. So this is absolutely insane that he's saying that. Michael Thomas is trying to make threats here to Derek Carr, and he's also trying to divide a team that he is not a part of. This guy is such a toxic individual. Not only did he split up and divide the New Orleans Saints when he was on the team, but now he is on the couch, unemployed, trying to start shit with this team that's already having a lot of problems, if we're going to be honest. But you had Josh Olave, Chris Olave's brother, post this saying 100 emoji, 100 emoji. I don't know if Chris Olave agrees with this. Maybe Josh is frustrated. Perhaps he's friends with Michael Thomas. We don't know how close these brothers are, if they share a similar opinion, but this is not good for the New Orleans Saints, and this is not good for Derek Carr. This is not good for Chris Olave. This is going to make life a lot more awkward and tougher at work. Carr maintains that they have a great relationship when responding to Michael Thomas's criticism later on in the post-game press conference.
What he wants me to say, or what he's looking for, is to put blame on me that I got Chris Olave hurt. He can put blame on me. It's not going to change my day. I have a pit in my stomach anytime one of my teammates goes down because I love him that much, no matter if I like him or not. And I happen to love Chris Olave, and we have a great relationship.
And after having to have the rookie quarterback Spencer Rattler in during Derek Carr's injury, Chris Olave seemed excited about getting QB1 back.
How have things been this week with Derek Carr back on the field with you guys?
It's good. Just having the quarterback that I've been repping with since for a long time, building chemistry. Just having that leader back out there, it's gonna be huge for us. Trying to get back on path to what we dreamed of in the beginning of the year.
And when you saw these guys in the beginning of the year, because we can't forget the Saints were the number one offense after they beat the Dallas Cowboys, everybody was excited. Olave and Carr looked pumped up. The fans were pumped up. People were talking about winning the division and maybe Carr having an MVP year. These guys were locked and loaded and rolling and knew what they could do if everybody stayed healthy, if the locker room can stay together and they can continue to have belief in the coaching staff. But unfortunately, things are going completely downhill. I don't know what's going to happen, man. I think there's going to be a big move soon. I think any second now, somebody is going to get fired. Somebody's going to get fired with the New Orleans Saints. I hate to say it, but I feel like that's going to happen. So you had fans interacting with Josh Olave saying might be time to have that is it worth it talk, meaning should Chris Olave shut it down for the rest of the season, especially now that the Saints are 2-7. They literally cannot lose a game or else no playoffs going to happen this year. And honestly, it doesn't look like they're going to make the playoffs this year. It would be a miracle. And Josh Olave says, ain't worth it in NOLA. I'll tell you that. That's huge, man. This guy is basically saying that he does not think it's worth it for his brother to play for the New Orleans Saints. Is it just this year? Maybe it changes if they make a coaching change. I don't know, but this is not good, especially when it's somebody as talented as Chris Olave. And I really hope this is just a Josh Olave thing with Michael Thomas having that negative influence, but time will tell and we will see. You know, Alvin Kamara said something quite interesting as NOF Network, New Orleans.football, NOF Network interviewed Alvin Kamara after the game. And he made a comment that I think kind of shows that maybe everybody is not happy with this coaching staff.
I can keep going. We got guys. I'm naming guys. You know, I think there's confidence there, but there might not be confidence in something else. So
They got confidence there. They just might not have confidence in something else. And when you saw Alvin Kamara talking to Derek Carr during the game, it seems like these guys are all on the same page and were happy with some of the things they did in this game. Really, it came down to bad red zone efficiency, especially on third down early in the game. They settled for field goals early when they should not have, and some boneheaded penalties. Honestly, I think kind of some shitty penalties where the refs kind of screwed them in the second half. Holding calls, 2 back-to-back holding calls. They had 2nd and 30, 3rd and 30, just some impossible situations in the second half of the game. And the biggest F up came when it was crunch time, 4th and 4, 1:09 left in the game. I don't know who signed off on this play call. The head coach, Dennis Allen, said the original read was to go to Juwan Johnson, and the second read is to the one-on-one matchup on the outside. And Juwan Johnson was double, maybe even triple, quadruple covered right here if you take a look at it. So that first read was not open on 4th and 4. And then you just see them launch it here deep. Carr obviously going to be incomplete on this fade route on 4th and 4. I thought that was a stupid play call, man. I think you should have had multiple people, just 4 yards deep. All you needed is 4 yards in that situation. So I think that falls on Clint Kubiak, the offense coordinator, and Dennis Allen for signing off on that. You even had a popular writer for the New Orleans Saints, Jeff Duncan, say, what the hell kind of 4th and 4 play was that? And this is the same guy that Michael Thomas called a hoe when he was released by the New Orleans Saints, for some of you guys who remember that. Also, man, the emotions were just running high for this team. Cam Jordan was so emotional after the game that he did not even walk straight to the locker room. This was a viral video that emerged, and Derek Carr had to go and retrieve the guy. I don't know exactly what. Kamara retrieved him as well. You got Willie Gay Jr. there. Oh, and they asked him, "Are you good?" And he says, "Absolutely not." And then Carr saying he just needed a second. So Cam Jordan, somebody who's late in his career, not happy about the situation, emotional that one of the final years of his career is going to be a dud. And this is a team that had so much promise. Even when they had those 3 losses with Derek Carr, I keep bringing this up. These were 1-score losses against a talented Philadelphia Eagles team, against a talented Atlanta Falcons team, against the Kansas City Chiefs. They really had an opportunity in that game on Monday Night Football. They bridged the gap. And even in this game, man, you saw some of the potential with Chris Olave out of the game. All the injuries at wide receiver. Rashid Shaheed is on injured reserve. Derek Carr still tried to put this team in a position to win. And Alvin Kamara, I want to give Alvin Kamara the best credit of all, because they were absolutely locked and loaded running the football with Alvin Kamara. And you had Foster Moreau step up and get this touchdown that I was just pointing out to help the Saints get the lead at the top of the 4th quarter. But Alvin Kamara really was the star of the game. He had an insane amount of yards receiving and rushing in this game. And I actually was kind of surprised that the Saints didn't run the football that much in the red zone early on in the game. But the Saints become the first team to win the turnover battle, have a total yards margin of 150 plus rush yards because Alvin Kamara did so great, and lose still since 2003. Other teams are 354-0 in that situation. And I want to get into Dennis Allen being asked about his job security. And we talked about the Alvin Kamara comments that he made seem like he was kind of pointing towards coaching being a major issue. I also want to talk about what Carr said. And I was very surprised to hear what Carr had to say in this post-game press conference when he was asked about what it's like dealing with the possibility of the head coach being fired.
Before I came here, you hear those rumblings and things like that. And that stuff to me is way above my decision-making abilities. My job is to play quarterback, take care of the football, try and score touchdowns, and put us in position to win football games. And, the one thing I've learned when that stuff happens is if you don't have a tight group, it can go south real quick. And so if they ever thought that something like that, which you never as players want that to happen, if they ever thought that they had to do that, then we better go tight together, because I've had that happen, and I've been a part of a team that made the playoffs, where something like that happened, and I've been a part of other teams where it's not fun. And so, to even think that could happen sucks, So it's the sucky part of this business. And it's the sucky part of where we're at right now.
So the key thing that he mentions is that they got to be tight if that happens. That's kind of anticipating it happening, if I'm going to be completely honest there. And it wasn't exactly a ringing endorsement of Dennis Allen. He did say he doesn't want that to happen. The players don't want that to happen. It would suck if it happens, but it wasn't a big time ringing endorsement. I have to be honest here and say it wasn't like the dude said, oh, Dennis Allen's not the problem. We need to execute better. All of these guys, and I think the common thread between what a lot of these players are saying when it comes to Alvin Kamara, when it comes to Derek Carr, the common thread is that they feel confident in their teammates and their players. Seems like there's some other issue going on, and unfortunately, it seems like that might be head coach Dennis Allen. Colin Saunders, the former Kansas City Chiefs defensive lineman, who's also on the New Orleans Saints, made a series of tweets after the game too, where he said, the New Orleans, y'all deserve better. My only goal is to finish above 500 at this point. So he sounds very pessimistic. Fans say keep losing so we can get the #1 pick. Hell, throw me in at QB shit. Let's have something fun to watch. So kind of making some jokes, also talking to former Saints player Lonnie Johnson Jr., telling him to shut his ass up and they'll both be in Cabo January 10th, basically saying they're both going to be missing the playoffs this year. So pessimistic, down on the team, but what do you expect from Colin Saunders? Chris Olave saying that he's going to be all right and he appreciates the love and prayers. So great to see that Chris Olave is doing well. But Dennis Allen was asked about his job security after the game, and I don't think the guy sounds too confident that he's going to be with the New Orleans Saints long term, especially since they keep losing.
I got to be better for our guys. And here's what I'll say. I'm going to keep coming in every day and fighting my ass off, just like I have every single day that I've been here. And I'll just keep doing that.
I know we've asked someone questions to this, but do you feel like now you kind of have to fight for your job?
I feel like I'm going to come in and try to do the very best job I can every single day. That's what I've always done. You know, I've been here for a long time, and that's the way I've gone about doing my job.
So basically, the guy is being asked if he has to fight for his job, and he's kind of giving some non-answers. Now, if you've watched a Dennis Allen press conference before, he does give a lot of non-answers a lot of the time. But I just don't think this guy sounds confident that he's going to be the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. I think one more L when they face the Atlanta Falcons next week. I think that completely wraps it up, and it will probably be over for Dennis Allen. When it comes to Derek Carr and his job security with the New Orleans Saints, I mean, he really does have a lot because his contract, the way his contract is structured, despite what Michael Thomas may say, despite what, I hate to say it, Josh Olave, the brother of Chris Olave, may say, Derek Carr is locked in with the New Orleans Saints for next year. Honestly, with how toxic this team is right now, with how old this roster is right now, and how they don't have too many young rising stars outside of the receiver position and the secondary, which is all injured, by the way. The Saints were on their 5th string cornerback in this game, and both of their starting wide receivers are injured. But this does not seem like a fun place to be for any quarterback, let alone any player right now. We'll see if the New Orleans Saints make a head coaching change, and we'll also see if Michael Thomas joins an NFL team, or will he end his career tweeting about Derek Carr. My name is Wi-Fi Willie. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.